In 2018, a deep-sea research robot captured footage that genuinely stunned the scientific community. What it filmed was an eel, barely thicker than a garden hose, inflating its own head into a billowing, balloon-like structure nearly the size of a basketball. In just a few seconds of video, that single moment explained something researchers had been trying to understand for decades: why almost nothing that crosses paths with a Gulper eel ever gets away. What looks like one of the ocean's most fragile creatures is, in reality, one of its most inescapable hunters. And the reason comes down to one of the strangest anatomical designs in the entire animal kingdom. Deep in the ocean's twilight zone, where survival is measured in single lucky moments, evolution has crafted a hunter that just breaks the rules of anatomy. This is the Gulper eel. And I know what you're thinking, the name doesn't sound too terrifying. But what you find is much more bizarre. Its mouth, a quarter of its entire body length, is its ultimate weapon. The rest of it is just a simple black whip-like ribbon, but its jaw is an evolutionary masterpiece of weirdness. Famous footage captured in 2018 showed the world what scientists had only seen from dead specimens before: a creature that can inflate its own head into a massive, billowing net. But how does this seemingly delicate animal use such a huge, almost comical feature to make sure that in the endless dark, almost nothing escapes? To understand the Gulper eel, let's take a look at its most blatant feature, that impossible mouth. Its other common names, the pelican eel, the umbrella mouth gulper, all point to this one spectacular adaptation. The jaw itself is loosely hinged and connected to a skull that's ridiculously tiny in comparison. This whole setup lets the mouth swing open and balloon to truly insane dimensions, way wider than the eel's own thin body. Think of it like a pelican's pouch, but taken to a completely wild extreme. When the Gulper eel opens its mouth, it doesn't just reveal a set of teeth, it unfurls a giant scoop. This motion sucks in a rush of water, and anything floating nearby, whether it's one shrimp or a whole school of them, gets swept inside. This whole net move is a masterclass in saving energy. In a place where calories are everything, the Gulper doesn't need to be a fast swimmer. It just has to be in the right place at the right time and pop open its trap. Once the prey is inside, part 2 begins. The Gulper eel's mouth is lined with these tiny, almost useless-looking teeth. They aren't for tearing or chewing. This hunter swallows everything whole. The teeth are really just there to stop things from escaping while the eel pulls off a pretty amazing trick. With its mouth full of water and hopefully food, it slowly pushes all the extra water out through its gills, trapping the meal inside. From there, the food goes down into a stomach that's just as stretchy, capable of expanding to hold a surprisingly big meal. And yes, these guys are real. In June 2023, researchers filmed a Gulper eel with a remarkably full tummy, the first time one had ever been seen with a recently eaten meal. Based on the shape, they guessed it might have been a squid, which proves the eel's system works for prey much bigger than the tiny crustaceans it usually eats. The whole mechanism is a perfect fix for the problems of the deep sea. It doesn't have the luxury of being a picky eater. So, what's going on here? Well, when food is a rare event, you evolve to eat whatever you can, whenever you can. Its mouth isn't a precision tool, it's a wide net cast into the darkness. This anatomical absurdity is the key to its survival. So we have this incredible tool, a mouth that can go from a thin line to a giant parachute. But how does the Gulper eel actually use it in the pitch-black, high-pressure world it lives in? For a long time, scientists thought the Gulper was just a passive hunter, drifting and waiting for something to accidentally swim into its mouth. But recent videos have painted a more complex and, honestly, more interesting picture. The Gulper eel is a terrible swimmer. It has no pelvic fins, no swim bladder, and no scales. Its body is built for slow, wavy movements, not high-speed chases. This isn't a predator that outruns its prey. Instead, it uses stealth, senses, and a bit of genius. Its skin is a huge part of its stealth. Recent studies found that the Gulper eel has ultra-black skin that absorbs over 99.7% of the light that hits it. This isn't just black pigment. The skin's texture is literally built to trap light, making the eel practically invisible. It's a living black hole in the dark. And while its eyes are tiny and basically useless for seeing details, the Gulper eel is far from blind. It feels the world around it. It has a lateral line system, which is a series of sensors along its body that detect tiny changes in water pressure. It's like a form of sonar, letting the eel sense nearby prey or predators without ever seeing them. But its most cunning tool is a trick with light. At the very tip of its long tail is a photophore, an organ that glows with a pink or red light. For years, the theory was that the eel dangles this glowing lure near its mouth, just like an anglerfish, to trick prey into swimming right into the kill zone. Imagine a tiny, flickering light in the total darkness, an irresistible bit of curiosity for a passing fish. Drawn in, the prey gets closer and closer until, gulp, the hunt is over. However, the idea of the Gulper as a purely passive hunter has been turned upside down. In 2018, researchers captured the first ever footage of a Gulper eel actively hunting. The video showed it wasn't just hanging there, it was actively going after its prey near the seabed, a behavior that had never been seen before. This one observation rewrote our understanding, revealing a creature that's both a patient ambusher and a slow but active pursuer. It's a dual strategy for a dual problem environment. Save energy when you can, but be ready to move when a rare chance appears. The Gulper eel's mouth might be its most famous feature, but it's just one piece of the puzzle. To really appreciate this creature, you have to see it as a complete package, a biological machine fine-tuned for one of Earth's toughest environments. Let's start with the body. The Gulper eel's form is all about saving energy. It lacks a swim bladder, which most fish use to control their position in the water. Instead, it has gel-filled sacs and a lightweight skeleton and muscles. This makes it naturally buoyant, so it can just float at its desired depth without burning precious energy. And in the deep sea, which is basically a food desert, every calorie saved is a win. But it's not an apex predator. The Gulper eel gets eaten by larger hunters like the lancetfish, and this might be another reason for its signature move. Some researchers think the dramatic mouth inflation isn't just for feeding, but also for defense. By puffing up its head, a small gulper might scare off a predator, making itself look way bigger and tougher than it really is. The footage of a young eel inflating its mouth at a camera certainly makes this idea seem plausible. It's a bluff. Now, let's get to the most mysterious part of its life: reproduction. Like a lot of eels, we barely know anything about it. What we do know suggests a pretty dramatic final act. When a male Gulper eel is ready to mate, it goes through a radical change. Its teeth fall out and its jaws shrink, meaning it probably stops eating completely. But at the same time, its sense of smell becomes enormous. The leading theory is that females release chemical signals or pheromones, and the males spend the last part of their lives sniffing them out. After this one reproductive event, it's believed the adults die. The young hatch as these transparent, leaf-shaped larvae called leptocephali, looking nothing like their parents, and just drift on the currents for months or even years before they transform. For all that we've discovered, the Gulper eel is still a huge question mark. Every new observation seems to open up a dozen new questions. Its life at depths between 500 and 3,000 meters makes it incredibly hard to study. Most of what we know comes from the handful of times they've been accidentally caught or seen by underwater robots. The Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute, for example, has only seen this species a few times in thousands of dives. Its full diet is still mostly a guess. We know it eats crustaceans, fish and squid, but some stomachs have even contained seaweed. Does it hunt for seaweed or just swallow anything that floats by? We still don't know. That 2023 footage of an eel with a full stomach was a huge discovery simply because it was the first of its kind. The glowing lure on its tail also holds secrets. We think it's for attracting prey, but could it be for communication? Or maybe to attract a mate? Bioluminescence is a complex language in the deep, and we're just starting to figure it out. And what about its life cycle? The theory that males transform and die after mating is compelling, but it's never been seen. No one has ever witnessed Gulper eels mating. Where do they go? Do they have specific spawning grounds like other eels? These are some of the biggest blank spots on our map of the deep ocean. Even its conservation status is listed as data deficient, not because it's common, but because we just have no idea how many there are. But threats are on the horizon. The possibility of deep-sea mining and the effects of climate change could put the fragile world these mysterious creatures rely on at risk. The Gulper eel is more than just a biological oddity. It's a symbol of the vast, unexplored wilderness still on our own planet. It's a reminder that there are animals out there whose life stories are still a complete mystery to us. Creatures like the Gulper eel show us that the deep sea isn't empty, but a living ecosystem full of evolutionary marvels. From its ultra-black skin to the glowing lure on its tail, and of course its impossibly huge ballooning mouth, the Gulper eel is a supreme hunter in the dark. It ensures almost nothing escapes, not with speed or strength, but through stealth, strange senses, and an anatomical feature so bizarre it has to be seen to be believed. The story of the Gulper eel is the story of the deep sea itself, dark, mysterious, and full of unbelievable science just waiting to be discovered. If you want to dive into more deep-sea mysteries, make sure to subscribe and join us for our next journey into the abyss.